Son got the sauce, boy.
Yeah.
You're so lazy.
You AJB? You so stupid.
Johnny on the tribe. You already know who it is, CMG. Been out here doing this here many moons now. Let's go there. I had to get it on my own since I was 13. Had a few rest dreams. Had to dig deep. Had to find a warrior within me. Yeah, yeah. The bottom where I come from. So I know what the struggle like. Obstacles I've overcome. Living the trouble life. Yeah. Everything we go through, we supposed to. It's just a part of life. Yeah. Everyone who meets you, you're supposed to. Wrong or right, yeah. Every day's another day to build a better you and a better life.
Welcome to the Wrong NDN Podcast.
Native Americans of all trades, masters of none.
What does that mean? While we have a lot to say, we are not the experts.
But we talk to the experts on a variety of issues.
I'm Kenrick Escalanti.
I'm Brittany Schulman.
I'm Honeybeemarie.
And this is the Wrong NDN Podcast.
Welcome back to Wrong NDN Podcast, Season 4, Episode 4. Yat A, She Honeybeemarie, Studis.
Hi again, guys. It's Brittany Schulman. I'm super excited. And it's going to be such a great episode. Are you ready for it, Kenrick?
Quits kamadoom venthiv amai to this quitsan iumulik Kenrick Escalanti American iumulik. Yes, greetings everybody. I am excited. This is episode 4. We're just trucking along here on season 4 of the Wrong NDN Podcast. We are Native Americans of all trades, masters of none. We are the Wrong Indians. What's going on, guys?
And this is your reminder that we are also partnering with a tribe called Geek. So if you want that first episode, if you haven't seen it yet, it was up, ready to go. Tribe called Geek. Head there first to get it on, and y'all will correct me, on Saturday, and then Monday. Oh, it's on there on Saturday or Monday. I don't know why I have Saturday
on Monday.
Tribe called Geek Monday. Go there, check it out, get all the fresh stuff, and then Saturday, if you want to wait and you're a weekend person like us, Saturday come to Wrong NDN Podcast. So we have that partnership. We just want to remind you guys, we're just super dope, super excited about it. So let's get into it.
And then the one thing to mention is that when it comes to a tribe called Geek, they are playing the traditional podcast on Mondays. So if you're like Brittany and you want that YouTube feel so you can see our pretty faces, that's on Saturday. So, all right, guys, we'll take it away.
So this is Indigi-faves. This is our segment where we love to show off our support for Native entrepreneurship. And we have different things that we will link in the down there, up there, sideways. Who knows where they're at? Show notes. You'll be able to find all of these things, and we want to shout out some of the businesses that we love and that are Native owned. So I'll go first. So to all my Navajos out there, I love you, relatives. Do not come for me if I butcher this.
Oh no.
This company is owned by Jennifer Begay. It's called Baa Dahozhonigii. Okay. And it
sounded great.
Love it.
Customized. I don't even know if you can see it. Focus. They're customized tea, sugar,
Wow.
canisters. And they're in the Navajo language. You can get a hold of Jennifer Begay on Instagram at Baa Dahozhonigii, and Instagram, that's her handle. And you can actually have them customized in colors that could fit your kitchen. They also have a line, which I'm saving up for, of flour. So you can get flour canisters, salt canisters, or in one of those big those big items. So I'm waiting for that because I have they're huge. So I love them, and they're in Navajo language. And I bet you if you talk to Jennifer, you can get them in your own tribal language.
That's
I
so
like that.
cool.
I love that.
I love it. You make a whole aesthetic. It would be great, like in your whole kitchen.
Yeah. Plus, when you're trying to like learn your language, I always feel like it's great. Like I'm like the guy who like tries to put like the stickies everywhere and be like,
Yeah.
that's how you say that. That's how you do that. Yes, that's cool.
Yeah, they do that at my daughter's school. Like all of the hallways and everything is named, and it's also in Ojibwe. So I mean, even the town hall in the city of Bemidji has his boujou on the door, which I thought is so dope. So my Indigifave is a oldie but a goodie. I shouldn't say oldie but a goodie. Actually, no, it's been around for a while. So we have Bethany Yellowtail. I'm actually wearing her matriarch shirt. I don't know if you can see it. I love that it's organic cotton, but be warned, if you are like me and you don't pay attention to the little notes about how to wash it, size up. Just go ahead and size up because it does shrink a little. And she puts the warning, so it's not like I was surprised. I'm just a horrible laundry person. But I do love this shirt. I've worn it a lot. I've dressed it up. It's just such a beautiful design. I'm not sure.
Timeless piece.
It really is. And I love that it's got the little girl. It just looks beautiful. So, and this has been one of my go-to shirts since I've gotten it. So I've tried to take care of it, even though I suck at laundry. Also, folks have been asking about my mug. This is from Insurgents. So you can find them at insurgents.com. I just love it. She's so cute.
I love
and
it.
I got this in
She
my
holds it in a
native
sheep.
Yes, she's got a little sheepy. She's definitely your people.
Oh yeah.
But I got it actually in my Bewee box, and I'm so excited we're going to get to talk to Jamie a little bit more about that, about the Bewee box.
Man,
So
I
yeah,
wanted
those
that
are
box.
two.
God, I tried to get that box and it's sold out.
It sold out twice.
Yeah.
I tried to get it twice.
I mean, I sat there. No, I missed it.
That's the only So those are my two Indigifaves for today.
Cool. For me, I am wearing my OXDX. It's also one of my timeless favorites. It's an OXDX t-shirt. OXDX, that's from the creator of Jared Yazzie. And this shirt specifically, I'll move my mic. This is called Ready to Eat. Government assistance not required.
I love it. Commodities. I love it.
Is that the new fried pizza off of the TikTok?
No. Yeah, isn't that so stupid? Fried pizza. It's like, girl, that is fried. That is fried. You need to stop. So, and
appropriating her stuff.
Yeah. This is not an Indigifave because it's not like made by anyone who's trying to sell it, but I'm putting it out there because I know Indian country, you guys should be selling this. So check this out. For YouTubers, you can see it. I'll try to explain it in audio, but
I love it. I love a mug.
So I got a mug, and it's a Yeti mug, and it says Skoden on it. But if you turn it over, it also says Studis. I'm just in love with this mug. I got it from a coworker. Shout out Yana Allen. She got me this for my birthday. It's custom made, and so like Indian country vendors, get on this. Yeti.
That's hardcore, yeah.
Yeah, I love me a to-go mug.
Yeah,
so I can go down real fast.
Well, when you gotta do this.
I shared that on the TikTok my TikTok Wrong Indian, and someone was like,
shout out to TikTok Wrong Indian. Go ahead.
Yeah, TikTok Wrong Indian. Someone's like, where do I buy that? Where'd you get it? I was like, one of a kind. I mean, go out there and make it, and then tell me where to buy it. So yeah, that's those are my Indigifaves.
So I'm excited. The Little Miss Pop Culture over here has been really paying attention, and the big thing that's been out for a little while is Squid Games. And if you haven't seen it, there are no spoilers. This is a no spoiler situation, even though.
Thank you.
What are you doing? What are you doing? But the premise of the show is that the participants in the Squid Games are playing kid games and they're playing to win, because even though they're kid games, they're having adult consequences to these kid games. So instead of going through and trying to analyze the show, folks are doing that really well on different platforms, TikTok, YouTube, and all the things that I like to consume. Instead of going down that path, I wanted to ask you guys, what children's game do you think you would be able to win? If we are playing the Squid Games, and if it's the three of us, we're playing the Squid Games with other people, what's the game?
Well, I think for me, I mean, like as a kid, I mean, keep in mind, I'm like, I'm a hobbit. I always like to say that I'm 5 foot nothing. And so like, as a kid, I've been this height all my life. And so, I love hide and seek. Like I can hide, like, believe me, I can get myself in a little position and just be like, I'm here all day. No one's going to find me. So like, if I'm playing to save my life, I'm doing hide and seek. Cause we used to play hide and seek, like in the wheat fields back in the res. And
so is it like when I play hide and seek with my kids, I'm the seeker and then I count and then I forget? Is that what happened to you?
I think so. I think it was just like, all right, Kenrick, go hide. And I'm like, I'm so winning. They just wanted to get rid of me for an hour.
Aww.
I feel that. I do that too. What about you, Honeybee?
I can't tell my dogs to go hide and seek, so that isn't gonna work on them. I'm gonna be really, really honest with you. And Brittany knows this about me. I am not a competitor in any way. I do not like to compete. As a child, I opted out of playing any games that there was a winner. It's really bad. I'm sorry. I'm better at it. I promise you I'm better. I actually joined softball a few years ago before the panini. But I would just be like, just take me out now, because I just can't deal with this anxiety of trying to win this game. I think the consequence is probably less worse than trying to win. So that's who I am. That's just who I am. I'm not competitive.
I will say this,
answer.
Kenrick. I will say this, Kenrick. So we had a sorority. Paul and I are in the same sorority, Alpha Pi Omega, and we had a get together, and that's one of the things we were doing was playing games. So it was minute to win it too. So it was like, the little fun games, and it was for funsies. And then someone else made it for points. And then Paula was serving food. She's like, here, I'm not playing any of the games.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me.
As soon as it became a competition, I was like, I'm going to go play host. I'm out, and I walked away. And that is just it's how I was built. I am sorry.
She's just protecting her feelings. That's all.
I'm better. I promise you. Since I was a kid,
I get so competitive.
I love Paula, but she can't be on my team because I'm playing to win.
Exactly.
Doesn't matter if there are points involved. There are points in my head. I'm playing to win.
Can I just be team snack person?
I'm down for that.
I'll be. I'm built to be a water boy or girl. A water person.
I am your support system.
I am a cheerleader. I am that's my role in life. Good deal.
So I really wanted to play to my strengths. And the game that I picked is something I would do in high school, and I've still yet to be defeated. Disney full-length animated musical movie song trivia. I know. I was telling my husband, he's like, that is so specific. I said, yes, it's specific, it's niche, and I will win every time. So if you name a movie, I know a song. Any of the full-length animated musical movies. Very specific category.
I feel like I want to quiz you.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Let me see. What song is played right after Mufasa dies?
Get him. And then the actual song that is sang next is Hakuna Matata. What a wonderful phrase. Do 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 do. Akuna Matata. Ain't no passing craze. Yeah.
I don't even know if you're right. You're like, I mean, hey, I'm giving you the points because you're like, wow.
Let's just point it out that she quoted a song that wasn't even part of the soundtrack. That wasn't even like supposed to be a song. It was just
It was the
Get 'em.
instrumental. Because they do that right after they kill, the hyenas come up and say it's to Scar, and Scar's like, kill him. And then they have that instrumental as he's
Okay, I
being
got one
chased
for you.
across. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is
I wanna
the
see this- I
song?
want to see this keep going.
What is the song that Beast sings to tell his story, the backstory, the one that just had no business in it?
If it wasn't in the movie, it doesn't fit in the category.
Wait.
Well,
needs
it
to be-
is. It's in the new one,
It's in the live.
Is it
the live
see?
action one.
full-length animated musical movie? Category.
Oh,
Stick in
see
the
how-
category.
See,
Okay.
so she's gonna win the Squid Game. This is
I
why I
guess
don't
so.
like competition. That's why it's so specific.
Okay. Little Mermaid. After Trident tells Ariel, "You've deliberately disobeyed me." Go.
Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's
He's right.
complete? You can't give me the main
Girl.
song.
Girl,
Girl
Little
who
Mermaid. I got
has
rid of that last time, didn't I?
everything.
Everything. Yeah, you got rid of it. It hurt my feelings.
Didn't
like
I
you
get
did.
rid of that movie?
Yeah. Little Mermaid's like my favorite Disney animated film. And you're like, get rid of it. I don't want it.
Y'all added an extra layer of trickery to your choices too. You're not even like, my friends would just pick a movie, like they would go Bambi, and I'd go drip drip drop little April showers sing onto the ground, drip drip drop little April, which is there's a song in Bambi.
Okay, so here's my thing about Bambi. Okay. I'm just gonna like segue here. Like all my life, I watched Bambi and I took things away from that movie. And then as an adult, I've always referred to, oh, they're Twitter pated. And no one understands what the hell I'm talking about. I have to go into this huge explanation of what does Twitter pated mean. And I'm like, did you not grow up on Disney? Did you not watch Bambi?
I use
I-
that word all the time.
Kind of
It's
fell
Disney.
out with Disney with that particular movie because the kid that voices Bambi, how they got him to sound so hurt and so horrified was they put him in a room with the mic and said, "You need to call for your mom. She's left you here." And so when he's saying it, he really is in the emotion of mother. And he would go through and they say, "She can't hear you. You need to get louder." Mother. Yeah.
horrible.
It's horrifying. I was like, I'm so, you know what? I'm thankful that we're in the place, in the space we are in, because that's
Child
horrible.
abuse.
That's trauma. That's
It
straight
just added a
trauma.
whole
I mean,
other
the
level of him
sound-
losing his mom.
Yeah, the sound itself is traumatizing. It's like Littlefoot when he's calling for his mom. It's the same kind of thing, except they didn't lock a child in a room and say your mom's gone and left you. Or maybe that's just my abandonment issues. Yes.
Crazy.
Wow,
This
Disney
conversation got
skirting
so
on
dark. So
skirting on what's ethical and what's not since
Right?
its conception. Goodness gracious.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So that's well, to bring it back, that is my very specific game that I'm winning.
Brittany lives.
I live.
And
I don't think they killed a snack person.
see, you're
Well-
Right in Squid Games.
You're what they call an essential employee.
Still have my job.
Awesome.
I-
All right, guys.
Our guest today, and a dear friend of mine, I am honored, just very, very honored that they're part of our show. Jamie Gloshay is a co-director of Native Women Lead. Jamie is co-director where she co-leads key efforts in access to capital fund design, fund design, partnership advancement, policy advocacy, while leading program design, international development, and data evaluation oversight of the Native Women Lead. She co-leads Wait, what is okay? We're gonna have to redo that.
Yeah, Brittany,
Sorry.
stop moving the dang cursor.
Yeah.
I'm
You're
sorry.
like-
I was putting it where I could follow along. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
I didn't know it was
I can
moving
tell
you
every- I
guys
can-
at the end.
I can tell
Like,
every time you were doing it, you were throwing her off. I was like, stop it.
I'm so sorry. I didn't know I
I was
was doing
about to
that. I
text
was
you right now. I
I'm
was
so
literally
sorry,
about to-
Jamie. I was like,
Okay.
what is she doing? Hold on.
I just keep seeing Brittany's name going up and down.
I was just following along in the docket, but I will not do that now. Okay, we're good. And scene.
Take number
Sorry
2.
about that. I was really. I'm like that thing is.
And you can edit or skim down as much as my bio as you want.
Yeah. Paula, just comfortably wing it.
There you go. And now I'm moving my little cursor so you can't see me go.
It's the biographer.
Yeah, just stop moving your mouse.
Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. Yeah, it was making me cross-eyed.
I was watching it happen. I was like, oh.
Every time it moved my and we are so sorry. We are more professional than this.
No,
We're
we're not. But it's
No,
okay.
We're on a Google Doc, and so like we're looking at the Google Doc in real time, and Brittany's just like,
Playing with the Google Doc.
yeah, I see that. All right, here we go, guys. Take 2.
Okay. I am super honored to be introducing our guest today, Jamie Gloshay. She's a dear friend of mine and a co-director of Native Women Lead, because the friend part has to come before the Native Women Lead part, right? Jamie co-leads key efforts in access to capital, fund design, partnership advancement, and policy advocacy, while leading program design, international development, data evaluation, oversight for Native Women Lead. She co-leads design and implementation of Native Women Lead's Matriarch Response Loan Fund and the Matriarch Revolutionary Fund. Jamie serves on Up Together's board of directors, Closing the Women's Wealth Gap Working Research Group, is a CEO activator and an advisor for Angels of Impact. Jamie is a certified coach focusing on leadership and healing for Indigenous women, and is currently working towards certification to teach on the trauma of money. Notable achievement: Jamie is a 2018 Opportunity Finance Network Fellow, 2020 Boston Impact Initiative Fellow, 2020 National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development 40 Under 40 Award recipient. Prior to her current efforts, Jamie developed and led Actions, Native American lending program. Jamie is a citizen of the Navajo, White Mountain, Apache, and Kiowa nations, and mother of 3 residing in Tewa territory. She enjoys hiking, being on her ancestral homelands, and reading to restore. Welcome to the show, Jamie.
Thank you. It's great to be back in virtual community with the 3 of you.
Man,
Yeah.
that bio, man, was just like the most epic bio ever.
Yeah.
Honeybee, good for you getting through that.
Thanks.
Yeah, and it was really hard not to clap after every one. I'm like, whoa, this is my sister right here.
Aw, blush.
Yeah, so we started, I think you were on season 1 for all the old heads of Wrong NDN. Jamie was on our season 1, and we've all grown together. And one of the things we started adding was a game. And so we want to play a little game with you.
Yeah.
It's
I love
called
game.
One Must Go.
One must
So
go.
we're
Okay.
going to give you 4 choices. And of those 4 choices, you're going to tell us which one you're keeping and why. And then the last one is the one that you're going to let go of, and it's gone forever and it no longer exists.
Whoa, this
And
is
I'm
hard.
calling this one, I'm calling this one the Modern Anti-Attire Edition.
Okay.
So the 4 you have are beaded earrings, ribbon skirts, Indigenous graphic tees, and lipstick. All the lipstick all the time.
Oh man, this is hard.
So one must
I'm
go.
telling
Tell
you.
us what you're keeping first.
It's Brittany and those questions, man. She's not nice.
Earrings, of course. Like you have to have your native bling. Oh, I could probably do without the t-shirts. Honestly, some are like all right. Some are kind of like made of that really uncomfortable, like I don't know, like not cotton mix. Get all sweaty, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the ribbon skirts, because they're like made from somebody and, you know, they have meaning to them, definitely keeping that. And then, I don't know, I feel like I can't even live without lipstick. I should put lipstick on, but even when I wear a mask, I'm like putting on lipstick for no reason.
I
don't
know it's there.
Yeah. So I think that's where I'm at right now.
So
But
graphic.
then I don't know. I'm like, back in the day, as you know, before lipstick, we wouldn't have had it. So, but we didn't have, I don't know. Yeah, I'm keeping those three: skirts, earrings, lipstick, and then the t-shirts. Meh.
Oh, so okay, guys, take your t-shirts off. Hey, just kidding. It's not that kind of show.
We
Thank
need to
you
pay
so
off for
much.
Yes.
That's in the Patreon, eh? Our OnlyFans.
Oh no.
way
Way too much behind the scenes effort. Way too much.
yes. You're missing out if you're not on our YouTube. So let's start our conversation, because there's a lot to cover, and you are doing such amazing work in Native country, especially for Native women. So I know Native Women Lead recently won $10 million for your project. The future is Indigenous women. What does that mean for advancing Native women in entrepreneurship?
Oh, it means a lot. It was won a huge award. We partnered with New Mexico Community Capital, and we wrote a proposal that took like a whole year to write. And it was really around, how do you increase power and influence for women across the country? And we focus specifically on Native women because, of course, that's who we are and who we're reflective of and who we serve. And we did that in the lens of equity. We said, if you can support those most vulnerable, those most unseen, if we can design something that can support women that are often unseen and unheard, you can actually do this for all women. So that was the goal, is really to create a proposal around designing and supporting Indigenous women entrepreneurs, centering them, and showing how with full holistic wraparound support, you can actually increase economic agency. I'll show you a little graphic actually that we made. I kind of drew all over it, but this is our,
Oh, cool.
yeah, this is our proposal, and this is kind of the concept of it. And sorry,
I
it's very
love that.
high tech, but the idea about it, we really modeled it after a waterway cycle, because we've been saying, you know, we don't want to create a pipeline of Indigenous entrepreneurs because we don't like pipelines. We actually want to create a healthy waterway and ecosystem for Indigenous women entrepreneurs to thrive. So the water cycle, we just took the water cycle and then we overlaid all of our concepts on it. Sorry, I'm trying to.
That's so dope.
I love it.
Yeah. So it's inclusive of a fun fellowship where we want to see more Indigenous women in spaces of finance, so that they can actually fund. We can fund our own people. We want to create funds, like an actual. We call them in the finance world capital stack. So we want to create essentially pots of money to support Indigenous women entrepreneurs all over where they're at, wherever they're at in their journey, whether they're starting up or in idea phase, or they're growing, or they're established. And then the magic of Native Women Lead really was on the summit. Like, that's what's so neat about it. We can have people that are speakers who represent the community. We wanted to make sure that there was a safe, inclusive, brave space for Indigenous women to convene and get together and be in community with one another. And so we put that in there too in our proposal. We want to make sure that summits get funded, community convenings get funded, and that we can continue to do that work. And then we also said, like, this fund is actually so critical in ensuring we have capital, but we want to do it differently. We don't want to create the same systems that are already there. Like, we can't access capital in a normal bank. You know, a lot of us, the 5 C's of credit is like BS. So we're actually trying to reinvent that and say, like, actually, no, there's a better way to do this that's rooted in relationship and reciprocity, that can prove that Indigenous women are investable and that we are worthy and risk worthy of getting money to grow and start our businesses. So yeah, it's a really beautiful concept. We want to use Indigenous informed evaluation metrics, impact metrics that are really reflective of how we define success in our communities. And then the long-term ripple effects we actually want to see in the middle, Indigenous women centered, and then we want to see them access economic advancement, empowerment, healing, safety, sovereignty, agency, rematriation. And yeah, so that's kind of the whole concept. And what's also really neat about it is it gives us funding for the next 5 years that we share with New Mexico Community Capital, who will provide technical assistance for us. And it gives us some breathing room as an organization to build and to, because we've been grassroots, very much like volunteer led and seeking sponsorships. Yeah. So we actually now have a little bit of room to really do these things thoughtfully and carefully. And I will share, I had this idea of building a retreat center here in Albuquerque to have a place for Indigenous women to retreat, restore, to just have refuge. And I'm thinking like a place, like a beautiful space, like a mansion or like a Los Poblanos. But we actually wrote that into the proposal and got $500,000 for that. So what we're going to be doing now is thinking about building an actual space here so that Indigenous women, Indigenous people of color, women of color, BIPOC communities can come to actually have a safe space to restore, retreat, and find refuge with one another.
That is
it's beautiful.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because right now, I don't see any places in Albuquerque that we can do that, like, sure, there's community centers and, we can call around and ask to rent a spot, or, we can go to casinos and get a convention space. But I don't really see a place that's meant for us or designed by us that can hold us and bring community together in a safe way where, people can go and convene and share their ideas and build community with one another and feel supported. So that's the dream.
Wow. So my question really, and this comes from, being a father of like 4 strong Native women. And my question is, how do I keep my Native daughters engaged in Indian country and wanting them to be the next leaders of Indian country while still living in an urban setting? Like, my daughters live in an urban setting, and I just want to know, like, your organization and your movement that you're doing, like, are you guys anticipating or planning on how to bridge that gap for Native urban girls?
Yeah, we are. A lot of us are actually reflective of the urban community too. A lot of us in the development of this organization, a lot of the co-founders had babies. I myself have a 11-year-old and a 13-year-old daughter. So I've pondered the same question. I just held a coming of age ceremony for them, which was a huge ordeal to me because I wanted them to be in that pathway where they're supported. And a lot of our network are women that are essentially like up and coming entrepreneurs, but also like folks that are coming to this after their career. Like, a lot of the women in our network are around like mid-30s. So there is a huge need to make sure that we are both youth inclusive, as well as thinking about veterans and elders that are entrepreneurs. So we are trying to ponder that. And I know that what we normally do and what's been our magic is asking our community what works. So that's a question we want to take to our community of how do we be more inclusive of youth and support youth. For me, I hope just living by example for my daughters really shows them, what it means to be a Native woman. But the big thing we always land on is this issue around violence, around Indigenous women, and how we see entrepreneurship as one pathway towards economic safety and stability in their lives. So I'm hoping that what we can do is really show that we can be leaders, we can be entrepreneurs, we can be mothers, caretakers, and that, they can actually carve their own pathway towards sovereignty, safety, and agency. So I actually would call and ask on our community and our network to help us answer that question. We do definitely want to increase accessibility to youth. And what we do for the summits, we've always had scholarships. We try to outreach to colleges and schools. We worked with Brave Girls up in Santa Fe to do a youth class. So that's just something that we need to continue to work on with the youth. And I think about me when I was that age, like, I had no idea what entrepreneurship was, and I didn't even know that word. But we're seeing youth step into those positions. Like, there's what's her name? Camilla Begay. She has a soap company. She's like 12 years old. It's amazing. My son, he like flips Nike shoes, you know.
Dang.
He sells fashion. So like youth are actually getting engaged, and I'm seeing a lot more artisans as well, like in the creative economy that are rising. And I think it's just a matter of supporting them and letting them know that, you know, their skills and their ideas matter. And for me, I'm always thinking about that. Just, you know, what does it mean to support the next generation of entrepreneurs and people, especially with these emerging and innovative ideas? Like, how do we make a space to where they feel safe and they feel empowered and they feel like strong to just take that step? So I think not only in urban settings, but in, you know, in tribal and rural areas too, like how do you support our youth and communities to flourish and thrive and move out of that survival thinking and into like thriving?
Speaking of moving out of that space, let's talk about money.
Yeah.
I know you and I have had lots of conversations about, you know, the trauma of money, and I'm so excited for you to move into that certification and how that's going to work. So can you just talk a little bit with us about that journey and what have you learned, or what would you want to share with folks?
Thanks. I think it's a very personal journey. I've done a lot of work with coaches around leadership development, entrepreneurship, personal development, etc. And one of the coaches I met, her name's AJ, and she was talking about doing a mind map or a money map. And she asked us to kind of look at places where scarcity and abundance showed up in our lives. And she did it through what's called the sites of shaping, which you look at, you know, your personal, your family, your community, your network, systems that be even like stuff beyond that. And I was really blown away of where scarcity showed up. It wasn't very often, but it was something I focused on. And then I mapped out all the things that were abundant in my life, whether it was like my love of family, children, you know, my culture, my community, the network, the spiritual aspects of what I can access. And I was blown away by how much abundance was in my life. And that was really eye-opening to see like, oh, wow, I actually focus a lot more on scarcity when I actually have a lot more abundance. And that was a big like mind shift to really see. And I think that's real because, you know, that's what we deal with in our lives. I grew up definitely with parents that were in poverty and had issues with addiction and all of those things we hear about. And the psychological impact of like trauma, intergenerational trauma, is so significant in our communities. It actually shows up in financial behaviors as well. Like, so a lot of people who are hoarders or are very risk adverse and don't want to deal with a bank or deal with money or don't want to like look at their finances, all these different patterns actually come from trauma that's related to how they interact with finance. So I could see why there's issues with access to capital. And when I was, sorry, my dog's barking.
It's all good. All good.
When I was a lender, I worked for an organization that had like $30 million. And they were like, go lend in Indian country. So I said, okay, cool. Like I could go out to the community and say, hey, I got money. Like, who wants to start a business? I was so naive because the financial trauma that exists because we have a lot of predatory lenders out there, like payday loans right on tribal lands or bordering tribal lands that were taking advantage of our people that didn't have access to financial education or, ability to build their credit. All of those things were challenges and barriers, and even the racism that exists within financial institutions were there. So I went out to the res or to my community and assumed that, I'd have a lot of people I could lend money to, but that wasn't the case because financial trauma does exist in our communities at many, many different levels that limit people's ability to increase their finances or even access money. So yeah, I think it's a very big issue, and what it roots down to is, from what we've heard from community as well, is like we have to heal that relationship with money. And I've seen it worded differently, like Edgar talks about, seeing money as medicine. Mm-hmm. I've heard Pat McCabe talk about it as seeing money as an ally. It's a form of currency. It's an energy. It's not meant to do harm, but it has been used to do harm, especially in the context of capitalism. And then I've seen people think about it like, okay, you know, like it's something you can, I forget, like, you know, that flows and needs to flow, especially in our economies. It has to kind of turn over 7 times to make an impact. So it's just been a personal journey that I've worked with. And now I'm looking at the community we serve and the systems that be, like, it's also like a big systems thing. And what we've landed on, it's like, you know what? Investors want to ask, like, what's your ROI? What's your rate of return if we invest in this business? And it's like, F that.
It's all good.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, like, and people use this horrible language in the finance world, like, what's their skin in the game? I'm like, you know what? Our bodies have already been in this. Like, our land has already been on this. Like, where's our ROI?
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, so that's what I hold in tension with, of like, you know, we're trying to get access to capital to Indigenous women entrepreneurs. But at the same time, I'm also trying to tell funders and philanthropy, like, actually, you kind of should do this because it's the right thing to do, because we're so far back in the economic game. Like, it's going to take a lot of work to get us, at least in the lens of equity, like equal, or at least in, you know, in the playing field. Like, we're not even there because of how much has been extracted and exploited from this.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm noticing that with Native Women Lead and being part of that journey and witnessing, and what you're talking about is like, I can sit here and just be like, yes, yeah, I just champion the work that Native Women Lead is doing. And it to me, it's like you're taking money and you're reframing it in an Indigenous context.
Yeah.
Right? That it's not necessarily the end all be all to owning a business or being in our communities. However, my thing is, and I want to hear this from you because it's such a beautiful thing. What are some unique ways that you've seen Indigenous women run their businesses? How are they different from like mainstream business owners?
Thank you. Great question. A lot of the entrepreneurs that we know in our network, they're called, I guess, social entrepreneurs. So they're actually trying to do something good with their business. And a lot of them are motivated by passion, skill set, interest, and expertise. So they know their craft, they know their work, you know, they were trained, they've aspired to do this, and they're committed and they're passionate about it. But the key differentiation is that they actually want to give back to their community. They're interested in solving problems in their community, and they're utilizing it through business. So that's one thing that I see that's really different about our network. And the fact is that they also have very much challenges and barriers off and on the res that exist that they're trying to navigate and challenge and address. But the cool businesses that I've really seen kind of pop up, one that comes to mind is Vitality, which is Tina Archuleta's business. And she has this really neat concept of how she's vegan. So she actually does like vegan food, but she uses her ancestral wisdom, her understanding of plants and food where she comes from, to essentially create like Pueblo vegan cuisine and offerings to the community, because she cares a lot about the issues of what's happening with respect to diabetes and heart issues, etc. So she's actually started catering and developing recipes, and now she's actually going to open up a space near the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center. Ooh. And it's just been real neat to see her journey, because she gets to design her own space, and now she gets to operate. And she's actually got a lot of attention nationally from folks in the food industry, as well as investors that want to support this vision as we think about, you know, what it means to support food sovereignty, as well as access to quality, nutritious food. So she's one example of how she's infused not only her culture and her passion, her skill set, her expertise into this, but has also done it in a way that honors who she is as an Indigenous woman, and honors, you know, what she cares about and our people. So that's one business. I know another one who is aspiring to essentially start an environmentally sustainable laundromat in her community because her community doesn't actually have a laundromat. She wants to use gray water catchment systems. She wants to ensure that there's not environmental damage happening. She wants to make sure that it's family friendly so people can go. And this really came out of a response to the pandemic. Her community closed down. They couldn't access a laundromat just to take care of basic hygiene needs. And they couldn't go to the nearing community because they shut down as well. So it actually created a lot of risk for their community members who had to leave tribal lands, go like 50 miles out, round trip, pay for gas, go expose themselves potentially to other people who had COVID. And just the baseline, like not having access to a laundromat, like in their own community. So we're seeing a lot of women who are trying to solve problems. And we're seeing women who are just trying to like take care of their families. I think about back on my res, there's a huge, what we call the tailgate economy, like essentially people selling food off the back of their tailgate.
Absolutely.
And, yeah. And it's a huge booming economy there, and they were totally affected in COVID. And, but, so it's a diverse number of folks. The creative economy too is hugely affected in COVID. Now we're seeing that kind of get reinvigorated and people had to go online. So I don't know, there's a huge mix. There's a lot of people in like ecotourism, hospitality. So it's just really neat to see these people. And then there's like, I don't want to say traditional entrepreneurs, but there are entrepreneurs that do contract work, consultant work, that are using all their skills that they've had from their careers and their education to ensure that those resources and services and products are available to their community as well.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, I'm just gonna have a quick little segue. I mean, to anyone who's like familiar with the Wrong NDN podcast, we have we love our ambient noise. So, the fact that your dog's barking, I believe
the whole house is moving. The whole house is moving.
Yeah, I believe Joe's watching the Viking game, in the background. So we're probably here screaming, throughout the whole thing. And then Honeybee.
Yeah, because they're losing.
Yeah, they are losing currently. Sorry. Oh, actually, no, they're actually winning now. It's 18-17. Go Joe! Shout out Vikings. I can't stand them. I can't stand the Vikings. But there you go.
Oh, sorry. Did I say that out loud?
So anyway, Jamie, look, congratulations too. By the way, you and I both were recipients of being 40 under 40.
Whoop, whoop.
And I really just want to know, how does it feel to be nominated and to be acknowledged by your peers? Like, especially with everything that's going on with you and with your organization, things are only looking up for you. And, you're seeing it with all the praise that you get. How does that feel?
It feels great. It's the opposite of that mentality that people focus on, that, what is it, the crabs in the bucket mentality or the scarcity mentality that exists in our communities. So that's what I feel like it's the opposite of. And it feels wonderful to be seen and acknowledged and appreciated. And, for me, it also makes me feel like I have a responsibility to not only share this wisdom and knowledge and my expertise and what I give to those who are up and coming, and to champion my peers as well. Like, I feel that additional, like, okay, cool. Like, like in the spirit of reciprocity and honoring relationships, that we continue to do that for one another. So it was just such a great honor, and it was neat to see you there as well. And just see these cool change makers that are doing many different things in Native communities, and oftentimes I always share that statistic. It was like, we represent less than 2% of the population. So oftentimes Indigenous people aren't seen or heard in a lot of spaces, but to just get that acknowledgement from your own community really makes a difference, and it really helps you uplift your own spirit and to know that you're on the right path.
Absolutely.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I just want to go back for a minute. I mentioned before you were part of our season 1. Just thank you so much, for coming, spending your time, being able to share with us. And I think at that point, y'all were launching the second Native Women Lead Summit.
Yeah.
So I want to know, it's 2 questions, actually. 1, are we getting a new summit? I need a reason to go to Albuquerque or anywhere at this point. And then number two, what is the project that you're working on that you're like, oh, this is going to be so good? That you're like,
Yeah.
This is-
Ooh.
Maybe she can't tell us yet, or maybe you can.
I
Just let
can
us
kind of
know.
like share. Yeah.
all I can do is ask.
I mean,
The
you're just
summit
talking
is
to us three. So
the summit is, you know, like our touchstone to community. It's a place to convene. It's a place to learn. It's a place to build community. And yeah, we are definitely planning for a summit in 2022. Of course, COVID permitting. Our first year was really intimate. It was at the Indian Public Cultural Center. I think we had 250 people. And then the second year was bigger. It was the at Isleta, and we had like 300 women. It was a 2-day event. We actually want to, because of COVID, actually think about something just a little bit smaller, but a hybrid offering. Not so conferencey feeling, but definitely where people can access a lot of the content. We had many different tracks in the second year, and people were like, oh, I wish I went to that one, but I had to choose this one. And, you know, so we definitely want to still stick with our game and like making sure representation matters. So it's primarily led by other Indigenous women, leaders, and entrepreneurs, that it's a safe, brave, inclusive space. And then that all the content that's delivered is culturally relevant in the context, with the adage now to be like trauma-informed and financial trauma-informed. Because those conversations around money, around entrepreneurship, around capitalism are really tough, and we have to be able to hold space for all the things that we bring to that, knowing that personally, like Indigenous women carry a lot of that. So that's, yes, we're planning for that, COVID permitting. We're also planning for a bunch of cool offerings in the lens of self-care, technical assistance, like business, hardcore business stuff, community table building, because we've learned we're actually like growing out this policy advocacy arm, because there's not a lot of data and research on Indigenous women entrepreneurs or what that pathway looks like. So we actually have that ability to do that with our community and ask our community, like, what would your solution be? Like, what does it mean to close the racial wealth gap? What does it mean to support someone with economic security? What does it mean to support survivors, you know, survivors of abuse and violence who are seeking a pathway to entrepreneurship? Like, we have that ability to do that within our community. And then the last thing is the fund design and development. As we're looking to grow and scale these funds, so we have a couple of them. We have a microfinance fund, which is $350,000 that have been raised. I'm sorry, $300,000 that have been raised to serve Indigenous women entrepreneurs in microfinance. We have another fund where $250,000 has been raised to serve women who need anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000 of money. And then the last one is a big lift, which is a $10 million fund, which is going to support women to access $50,000 to $250,000. So that access to capital work is really interesting, because we're remodeling how finance is done, not in the lens of the 5 C's of credit, but we're actually going to be introducing the 5 R's of rematriation, and looking again, as I said before, of how do you support Indigenous women with this lens of rematriation and building relationship and reciprocity in that design. So that's really exciting, because last year we like lent and gave away $500,000, and to be able to do that to our community and see women like actually stabilize and thrive has just been one of the most rewarding experiences. So that's exciting. And then last, I would say the retreat. Like I said, the retreat center, being able to envision a place where people can restore, retreat, have refuge, and build community with one another, and really show that it can be done not only in our community, but in multiple communities. That's what I'm really excited about.
Oh, it's so dope.
Oh, we're excited about it too. I mean, those are, you know, as Native women and somebody who supports Native women, Kenrick.
Thank you.
I had to shout you out too.
I am an ally.
You know, we're talking about the beautiful ways that our Indigenous women do business and conduct business and are out there. But I also want to talk about the unique challenges that Indigenous women both that both experience internally and externally in the business world as they're on their journey to being entrepreneurs.
Yeah. There's so many of them. At a personal level, it's dealing with that scarcity, dealing with the trauma. Anytime, you know, we come into conversation around money or capitalism or being seen in the community, violence, like it's all triggering, because we can actually say, I've experienced that, or my mom has experienced that, or my sister or my family's, we've gone through that. So as a person, you know, as internally, like you're feeling that, you're holding that, and there's a lot of healing that has to be done. I would say even that in families and communities, that's very resonant as well. But then you look at the systems and the communities we live in now, and you know, you're dealing with like systemic oppression, racism, historical trauma, like all of those things as well. And then you add the nuance of we do a lot of work in pay equity, right? And we see that Native women make 60 cents to the dollar compared to our non-Hispanic white male counterparts. So pay inequity is a huge issue. And we often see a ton of Indigenous women who are totally qualified, have like 2 degrees. I'm thinking about Rutherford Falls, where she's like, I have 2 masters. I went to an Ivy League. And, you know, so like, and then we're also like I think the challenge of the patriarchy, you know, exists there as well. Even in our own communities where Indigenous women aren't seen as leaders or even have access to go into that leadership pathway. But then we also carry a lot as caretakers, not only as I always say, the breadwinners and the bread makers, but we're caring for the children, the elders, our families. 2/3 of us are the economic stabilizers in our community. So we have a lot that we carry. We wear many hats. And I think that's like a beauty and strength of us, but it's also a lot to carry. And I see a lot of women burn out from it, from having to be fucking phenomenal. Sorry. From having to be like the best, having to have that excellence, having to have that bio, having to like, you know, be all the things and be the expert. And then when you're in a population that's often unseen and unheard, and you go into these places and you're the only Indigenous person, like then you have to kind of like be the face of Indigenous people, which is not fair, right? So yeah, it's just like it's multiple things that I feel like are challenge that we face every day, not only at a very personal level, but then all the way at a systems level. And that's what we're trying to do, is just within the path of entrepreneurship, is kind of see like how can we help mitigate those or lessen those challenges and honor the beauty and strength and complexity and depth of Indigenous women, or those who, you know, identify as Indigenous women, so that they don't feel so overwhelmed with it. Like it's entrepreneurship in general, from what I hear and what I've heard from all entrepreneurs, is like a very lonely journey. It's a lot of failing. It's a lot of like getting yourself back up. And I'm like, well, Indigenous women do that all the time, but we're also incredibly entrepreneurial and have been for thousands of years. And if we can tap into that ancestral wisdom of how to mitigate these challenges and navigate markets, you know, like we've done that before through our trade and barter systems. But then how do you also care for one another in a good way that understands that we carry all of those responsibilities and all those things as well? I don't know if that answered your question, but it's just like layered and deep and complex. And right now, all we're trying to do within the framework of Native Women Lead is show that, you know, within that one pathway, like how do you make the path like easier to travel? How do you make it less rocky? How do you make it safe, not dangerous? And how do you ensure that people have access to that pathway?
Absolutely. So let me go ahead and go back here. That everything that you've gone through, your highs and your lows, and right now I would feel like you're definitely in a lot of highs right now, because you're winning, you're doing great, and you're doing great things for the community. What would you do if you were able to go back to little Jamie, and what advice would you tell her?
Oh, it's funny you say that, because personally my life has been like, I don't know if it's turning 40. My son went, my son went to college, and that was like my heart was like, oh, my baby boy is going out in the world on his own. And my partner got a job, and he's out of state now, and we're dealing with like all this, those dynamics. And then I have 2 young daughters who went into ceremony and are now like young women. So my identity has completely changed. And to be able to hold the beauty of Native women lead and the needs of the organization and our community, as well as my personal life, what I would tell to younger Jamie is just to have so much grace and compassion for myself. Like that, I think with the healing and the trauma that we've all experienced in some way, and that journey is like, it's a journey that you just keep unpeeling layers, I think. I don't know, it's weird.
Yeah.
And I would say that it's also really special to be an Indigenous person. I didn't value myself as an Indigenous person when I was little. Not until like my later years, when I was seeing all this abundance and like, wow, I have access to so many beautiful things in my life. And that story of trauma and poverty and scarcity is not our story, actually. I got really sick last month, and I was having a lot, and I didn't have COVID, thankfully, but I got tea. People were giving me Indian tea, and it's a natural tea that grows out here in the Southwest. And I kept hearing the message like, you need to refill your cup. You need to refill your cup. And I've never known how to do that as an Indigenous person. As a kid, as a woman, I've always gave. So I would tell myself, like, you got to make sure your cup is filled. Like, you got to make sure your needs are met. Make sure you know what you want. Make sure you know what you need, and be able to hold that for yourself, to advocate for your own boundaries and your own needs and wants and desires and goals. Because we can give so much. But so I think about the tea, and I was like, this is like the most beautiful, perfect medicine, right? Like, you get a bundle of tea, you throw it in the pot, and I can like, I swear I like made like 5 pots out of one bundle. And it was just like the thing that just kept giving and giving and healing and healing. And it's just such a beautiful medicine. And I don't know, there's some analogy there, but it's just make sure you have access to those medicines and you know what they are, and you give it and you share it when you can. And but you make sure your cup is continually being filled, especially if you're doing community work, especially if you're trying to give, and especially if you're trying to make change. You have to take care of yourself.
That is so, so true. And I think sometimes, particularly as women, and I will speak for women because I are one, that it can get overwhelming. And I want to go again back just a hair. So when I think of entrepreneurship, I think of the guy who invented the GoPro. And so for folks who don't know that story, like Kool-Aid, after college, didn't know what he wanted to do. So he had to find himself, and his family just sort of supported him as he went surfing to different places. And as he's surfing, he's like, it'd be cool if I had some sort of camera that could capture this live action while I'm doing it. And thus he goes home with this idea. Mm-hmm. And among his family and friends, he's able to raise like 300, 500,000, like to figure out how to make this. And so as a kid, and even sometimes now, as I'm thinking about entrepreneurship, that's the kind of story that like sticks out. It's like, oh, you have to find yourself and, have people who have money to do that. And we know we have so many entrepreneurs, whether they're, the tailgate, or whether they're, we're featuring them even on our podcast, mm-hmm. just about every episode, all the folks that we just love what they're doing. What is, for young folks who may think that's like the idea of entrepreneurship or what it is, or that level of that it's something that is so privileged and far away, what's something you would like to share with young Native entrepreneurs now?
That that's not the typical path, that's like a path, but it's not the only path. Also, the reality is like our people don't have access to intergenerational wealth. So there's no way I could ask my mom or my, aunties or my cousins to like put their house up or to give me $100,000 so I can grow this idea. That's just not going to happen.
I got $40 my first year of college.
right. Right.
That was it.
Yeah, and a lot of times because of the reality of the world we live in now, and the conditions in our communities, and trying to stay afloat and take care of our families, and even the urban space, like a lot of us don't have space to dream like that. I'd love to take a trip and just like learn how to surf all over the world and find myself. I wouldn't like to do that, but what we're seeing is people, like I said, our whole network is inspired by their community, their passion, their skill set, their interest, and their expertise. So I would say to young folks, like, what do you like to do? What do you love? Like, what are you good at? Is there something that you're frustrated with in your own community or where you're at that you want to change? Like, that's an option. That's a pathway too. And I would just say, like, there are different pathways to get there. I always saw my life as a pathway of, trying to like get on my road and my path. And that's why I had the ceremony for the girls, because I was told there's only like one path. But for some of us, we got to figure that out. And I've encouraged my son to kind of like try different things, because I didn't have a lot of access to different things. I always ensured that he had not only different female like leaders or moms, aunties, people around him, but I also ensured he had male role models as well, so that he could understand who he was as his own identity emerged. And it was quite beautiful because I exposed him to entrepreneurs, he worked with Wake Self, he worked with a couple DJs, he worked with Charles Ashley, who does entrepreneurship, like he worked with our medicine person. And these are all men from very different communities, very different backgrounds, but I wanted to ensure that he actually saw different, I guess, perspectives of other men and how they interact with their family and their community. And so I would encourage you to seek mentors outside of your immediate family that are positive and that, treat you right and treat you well and support you and respect you, and that you can actually learn a lot from other people just by being around them. So I just encourage that for youth, is definitely to find mentors, even when you feel like you may not have them around locally or in your family.
Yeah.
Wow, are you talking to me right to my face? I mean, I'm not a youth, but I really resonate with that, and I actually wanted to end. This is a great way to end. Actually, is I'm going to challenge our audience and our listeners to drop in our comments an entrepreneur that you look up to, or a Native woman who, in honor of Native Women Lead. Shout out some businesses. Let us know, because we know that there's one at least Native owned company that we could be buying for, that we can replace in our life. So that's my challenge to our listeners, in honor of Native Women Lead, in honor of Jaime. There's your challenge. So let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I think the exercise that we've learned while doing this podcast, especially for me too, like I believe I mentioned it like in an episode, like when we first started season 4, was like these amazing women here have always been promoting indigenous entrepreneurs, and I've always been at the tail end of it, like, oh, I have N7s on, I'm good, but I never felt like I never truly supported Indian country in that way. And they opened my eyes to that, and they opened my eyes to like exactly what Honeybee just said, like anything you can think of, there's an indigenous person out there making it. So go support them in that way. Yeah. Think about it. You'd be like, no, I need shampoo. I'm pretty sure there's an indigenous person out there.
Dancing Butterfly Naturals.
Yeah.
There you go.
It's amazing.
And you just mentioned the young girl who makes soap, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
her shop is right down I can walk to her shop right now.
Exactly. You need makeup, someone's making it. You need a hat, someone's making it. You need a t-shirt, someone's making it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We got rid of t-shirts, remember? No more. No, just kidding.
But if you need nourishment, if you need some sort of nourishment, indigenous people are making it. I mean, it's just there. Everything's there. we don't have to live in a world anymore where it's like, no, I have to be dependent on the outside world. It's like we've always had it. Since the dawn of time, we've always had it.
Yeah.
Jamie, it's been so awesome talking to you. We're thankful that you're here. You know, I like to think of you as like one of our OG guests since you were there. You were there when we were so low tech and like we were
And
just
nursing
there.
babies, like legit on recording.
Yeah, I will admit that was a interesting
Experience.
moment. There was dual, you know,
dual nursing. Yeah. In fact, if y'all are on the YouTube and happen to catch it, the one that was running in, that was the one I was nursing. He's 3.
Aw.
He's
That's
so
definitely
proud.
a day in a Native woman entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're like nursing babies and signing contracts, you know?
Someone needs to make that a bumper sticker.
So Jamie, before we let you go, what do you want people to know? Like, where can we find more about you? How can we help you more? How can, you know, the outside community of New Mexico be your ally?
Thank you. So our website is nativewomenlead.org. You can learn more about what we're up to. We'll be posting about our programming coming up for 2022, as well as all of the fun stuff we're doing. I think what's really beneficial with community as we grow not only locally, regionally, nationally is to provide that input of what is necessary to make change. We can't do this alone. It's really critical to have that feedback and that mirror, so to speak, because we want to be accountable to our community and ensure that we're co-creating this journey together. And it takes community input and voice to be able to advocate not only at a local level, but at a systems level, and to design our programming and products and all of our ideas reflective of community. So we couldn't be who we are or where we're at because of our without our community. And we don't want to do this alone. We don't know all the answers. You know, we're just like everybody else. We're trying to figure out our own paths, our own healing journey, but we're also trying to make sure that we do right and live in integrity with our people. So I would say that's the biggest call, is just to continue to be informed and also stay in contact and connection. And I appreciate Paula's, you know, ask to share about more Indigenous women entrepreneurs. The one thing I will say with that is being able to support someone in your community, whether it's with an idea, donation, buying their product, you know, even a free share on social media. Those things go a long way because it's people that are supporting their families and trying to like live out their dreams and trying to do something for themselves. And if you can be part of that story and that dream and that vision and support them along their way in that path, like that's just a beautiful thing. And I always say that whatever you give, you know, comes back tenfold to you. And I really have seen that not only in our work, but with just in general. So that's what I would encourage: community input and support Indigenous entrepreneurs in your community.
Jamie Iwahot, thank you so much.
Thank you.
So, guys, I wanted to share with you a story with my children, especially since this is Indigenous Peoples Month, and just something for us to think about in this month. My kids are super obsessed with superheroes. Imagine that with me, their mom. So my daughter asks, you know, am I a good guy? And I always answer her, you know, yes, baby, of course you're a good guy. So one day when she asked that, she goes, no, am I a good guy? I said, well, what makes a good guy? And she said, good guys help people. So of course I asked, well, what makes a bad guy? She said, bad guys hurt people. And I know that's a very simple answer, but it was so poignant in that response. You know, helping people is what good guys are supposed to do. They stop the bad guys who want to hurt people, and they save people from being hurt, or at least they stop that process from happening. With that answer in mind, we were watching Moana, and it's been a little while since we've watched it. It used to be like her favorite movie when it first came out, and just the songs on point. So as we're watching it and she's watching what's happening, she's, Mom, is Maui a bad guy? So let me start here. Spoilers, if you haven't seen Moana, I don't know where you've been, but spoilers, it's on Disney Plus. Go check it out. So instead of saying yes or no, I said, well, do you think Maui's a bad guy? And she said, well, he hurt Te Fiti. He stole her heart and he made her te kā. But he's really funny and I like him. So that's very true. And that comment actually made me rethink the movie. You know, if you're looking at it through this context of good guys and bad guys, you know, from that simple place, Maui definitely starts off the bad guy. His actions of stealing cause deep hurt and deep pain and repercussions that was 1,000 years. It was 1,000 years since he had done that action. And it was even affecting folks. It was affecting Moana, who was living 1,000 years later. It's affecting her grandma, who lived who lived 1,000 years later. You know, that one act of hurt was definitely a bad guy moved. So in that moment, he was a bad guy. But when you think about the causing harm, Maui admits that his motivation for stealing the heart was because he wanted to feel loved. His abandonment issues, his abandonment caused him to seek roaring crowds of people who would, you know, be thankful for him for what he was able to do. So he was giving gifts so people would love him. I mean, he even totally sang a song about, you know, you're welcome, which, I mean, it's cheesy, but it's and full of allusions and puns. Yeah. And apologies, you're welcome. So if we're thinking about human beings as only good or bad, based on our actions, there's never really a chance to explore those motivations behind those actions. You know, there's a saying, hurt people, and Maui was definitely hurt. His motivations weren't sinister, they weren't evil, but his actions were definitely harmful. And his actions, as I mentioned before, lasted a literal millennia. Grandmother Tala in the movie wasn't even alive when Maui first acted. She only remembered the stories of that and passed them down, sometimes a little too eagerly with young Moana and all the other kids. And it just reminds me that our actions also have unseen consequences that others will always remember. So enter Moana into the movie. You know, Moana was not involved in the original theft. Moana was chosen, and she was chosen to take Maui back to return the heart of Te Fiti. She says it over and over again in the movie. And not only was she chosen, she had a purpose, and that was her purpose. And to be successful in that purpose, she had to make a choice. She had every reason to give up, and even towards the end of the movie, towards the middle of the movie, her grandmother says, I'm so sorry. This was really hard. You know, you can stop and go back if you need to. She even had that permission to go back and stop. And you're okay. And you tried and you did your best. So even though Moana was chosen, she still had choice. And in choosing to fulfill her purpose, Moana makes a discovery. She's not fighting a bad guy. She is seeing the result of the original theft. She recognizes te kā as Te Fiti. She has the ocean just make space for te kā and gives te kā an opportunity to be seen. Before she ever restores the heart, she shares a breath with te kā, sees her and acknowledges her in all that she is before restoring her. Moana is actually a healer. And so in this journey that we're on right now as human beings, we are all healers. We're living in the repercussions of those who came before us. Their thefts, no matter what the motivation, had long-lasting consequences. We may not have been involved personally. We may not know who our Maui was or what their motivations were. We'll probably never get to take a ride with our Maui, and that doesn't matter. But there must be restoration and healing. You, my friend, have a divine purpose. In this story, in this life, you are Moana. You can, I am Moana. Sorry, I had to. Go ahead. You can sing it too. I won't judge at all. It's okay. But you have the opportunity to greet your trauma, to share your breath, to see and acknowledge her, and then restore her. You have the ability within you. You have been chosen. And some days When the journey is hard, your ancestors will also tell you to rest. You did your best because we know this journey. They know this journey is hard. We know this journey is hard. And when they tell you to rest, listen to your ancestors. So all that to say, going back to the original question, is Maui the bad guy? I guess it depends. He did lose his identity. He was isolated and not allowed to leave a small island for 1,000 years. And even though he reminds us over and over that he was a demigod, he was born human and he made mistakes. He suffered the consequences for his actions, eventually learned his lesson and did the right thing. He apologized it and supported, albeit sometimes reluctantly, the restoration. So I'm sure there are some who would argue that it's not enough and that there are others who would want him forgiven because, to quote my daughter, he's funny and I like him. I didn't provide my daughter with an answer either because I don't think that the answer is clear. However, I did invite her to remember that she can be Moana and participate in the restoration. She can help people, and good guys help people. So I just want to say thank you so much for listening to The Wrong Indian. You can find us everywhere, wrongindianpodcast.com. Catch us early at A Tribe Called Geek on Monday, Wrong Indian Podcast on Saturday. And we just thank you for listening and enjoy Native American Heritage Month. Bye.